Welcome to Live, life-inspired views for every day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. I have a good friend, Paul Theobald, who loves studying rural literature. It's his passion. I told Paul to send me any nuggets that he finds while perusing those rural authors that he loves so much, and then I would take up the challenge of putting them into metaphors now and then for these podcasts. So he sent me this story. First, I want you to put this scene in your mind. It's in a small, dark kitchen with a round table and a farmer sitting on one of the chairs. The wind is blowing snow across the prairie out the window. Here's what Paul wrote. Years ago, making winter crops was a common farmer activity. With the harvest completed and snow covering the fields, work demands subsided somewhat. Many farmers then sat around their kitchen table, rolled the oilcloth up to make it easier to write, which was usually on the back of used envelopes. They would think through and plan for next year's crops. They would ponder which fields and how many acres would be planted, and a sale price like corn at $3.50 a bushel, for instance. They would subtract estimates of their expenses and then see what kind of income might be possible in the coming year. Would they be able to make it through another year? They plotted as many scenarios as they could. What if there was a drought or a flood or insects pelted and destroyed their precious crop? Or what if none of these happened and it was a bumper yield? Best not be too positive, these weathered farmers would often think. Making winter crops. It was an activity that would soak up hours and hours over the long winter evenings. Isn't that a wonderful little gem? And you know what struck me? That last sentence when Paul wrote, it was an activity that would soak up hours and hours. It reminded me of the concept of flow made popular by the psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in 1975. It describes a feeling of focus and energy that you get when you become immersed in something you really enjoy doing. For many years, I worked in the area of critical incident stress management. As a team, we work with emergency responders to debrief their experiences after a particularly traumatic call. We have a process so they will be able to work through the difficult memories of the event. The last thing I ask them to do is to identify something I call a coper or a coping mechanism, something that they love doing so much that when they are doing it, time just goes away. When one does those kinds of things, just like in that concept of flow, it energizes and focuses them, and they regain balance. It can be something that leads someone to becoming resilient after a challenging time. It can be a pocket of joy each time you immerse yourself in doing that thing. So did those farmers in the cold winter kitchens find that sense of flow when they were penciling out the scenarios of their bountiful or failed crops for the coming year? Probably. Even in our jobs, we can have that sense of, I love this moment, because we are doing something we know how to do, and it is fulfilling. My sense of flow comes when I sit down to play the piano. It feels so good. I can do it for hours. Another thing that I love that I can get lost in doing is a jigsaw puzzle. I never use the picture, but I just try to put it together by only looking for patterns, boundaries, and colors. The challenge of it brings me so much joy. It's like penciling out my winter crops. It's what my friend Paul feels when he reads and rereads the works of rural authors. It's what my husband feels when he's sitting in his boat this week with a fishing pole in his hand and the line in the water up in Canada. So, how do you make your winter crops, your flow, that thing you like to do so much that time just goes away? How can you make sure you put space and time in your life to do a bit of it here and there to keep your balance, help your focus, and increase your joy in living? On your bathroom mirror, tape a picture of that thing and pledge to fit it into your life as often as you can. That's how you really live, you know. Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.